The Novum is a concept originated by Darko Suvin, who writes in Metamorphoses of Science Fiction that science fiction is distinguished by the narrative dominance or hegemony of a fictional novum, a novelty or innovation which is validated by cognitive logic. So the novum is scientifically plausible. This is what distinguishes science fiction from fantasy, of course. Because in fantasy, it's not scientifically plausible that elves or dwarves would occur or that magic would exist. Whereas in the case that we will be assessing today, Armageddon, it's scientifically plausible that an asteroid would strike the Earth. So, of course, the example we will be using is Armageddon. And the novum, of course, is the presence of a 1,000-kilometre wide asteroid which is set to collide with the Earth. This particular scenario is plausible to some extent because the Earth has collided with large asteroids before and there are numerous potentially hazardous asteroids close to the Earth's orbit. However, the large size of the asteroid, 1,000 kilometres in diameter, does limit the extent to which the novum is validated by cognitive logic in this case. Sobchak posits that, although speculative, the film is grounded in possibility. Thus, the novum of the film can be validated by cognitive logic. Of course, around 65 million years ago, an asteroid did strike the Earth and caused one of the 5 mass extinctions in the Earth's history, including the extinction of the dinosaurs, which, makes me quite sad. And while this particular collision is a well-known example of an asteroid large enough to cause catastrophe colliding with Earth, it's not the only example. The term potentially hazardous object is used to describe an object which is close enough to the Earth and large enough in size that it can cause large-scale damage in the event of a collision with the Earth, of course. So there are quite a large number of these in the asteroid belt around our solar system, and not even in the asteroid belt, as vectors throughout space, of course. Potentially hazardous object doesn't even have to be an asteroid, it can be a comet. So, it is possible that one could strike the Earth. And of course, the Earth strikes and collides with a body such as this one every 10,000 years or so. So it does occur, it does happen, and therefore the novum that we are assessing in this case is plausible. Now, the large size of the asteroid which is present in the film, however, is highly unlikely. In fact, I would go to say that it's almost impossible. The size of the asteroid presented in Armageddon is, of course, the least plausible aspect of this film. It's really not validated by cognitive logic. The largest known potentially hazardous object is around 7 kilometres in diameter, compared to the 1,000-kilometre asteroid that we see in the film, which is quite a large difference. Of course, that asteroid is 0.7% of the size of the one that we see in the film. However, the asteroid, which is known as Apollo, could still cause large-scale destruction if it were to collide with the Earth. It's just, it likely wouldn't cause extinction of all life on Earth or cause major structural damages to the Earth. The asteroid that killed the dinosaurs was, I think, around 10 to 15 kilometres in diameter. And of course, it didn't cause structural damages. It did cause volcanoes to erupt and tsunamis, but, in the grand scheme of things, the Earth was fine and life continued on. Whereas the asteroid present in the film, it's highly unlikely that the Earth would survive at all. Thus, the supermassive size of the asteroid in Armageddon is not plausible, but a collision with an asteroid large enough to cause large-scale damage to the Earth and to life on Earth is plausible to an extent.